Hey, middle school, and welcome to the April edition of Book Talk. So April in the United States of America is National Poetry Month, which means that when you come by the library, you'll see featured poets in the windows. We have a table set up right inside the library for you to create your own blackout poetry, and I'm going to be talking to you about novels in verse today. So in our library, we have lots of novels in verse. They are actual books told in poem form. So here's one of them. You can see when you open it up that it's in poems. It tells a whole story just like a regular book, but again, it's written in poem form. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 different ones today. They're all really good. This first one is called Other Words for Home, and it's about a girl named Jude who is a refugee from Syria. So the country where she grows up with her family has gotten really out of control, and there's lots of issues, and it's very violent. It's Syria. It's out in the Middle East, and so she moves with her mother to stay with family in America, and it is such a culture shock. Everything in America moves fast. She doesn't speak the language. She doesn't dress like everyone else, and everyone calls her Middle Eastern, and she's like, I don't even know what that means. So it's her journey in trying to find herself and figure out how to be American when you're just a girl who misses her home. So that one is Other Words for Home. Our next book is called Closer to Nowhere by Ellen Hopkins. And Ellen Hopkins is a really popular novel and verse author for high school, but this is her first middle school book. And it's the story of Hannah and Calvin. They're cousins, and Calvin's mother has died and his father's in jail, and so he's come to live with Hannah. And having someone else in her home, even if it is her cousin, is extremely difficult. He has meltdowns, he's got lots of issues, his life has been really inconsistent. He hasn't always had a very good home life. And so he kind of drives Hannah nuts. But at the same time, Calvin is dealing with the grief of losing his mom and is kind of scared that when his dad gets out of jail, his dad's going to yank him out of this home that he's living in, and he really likes it. So really family-centered book about some kids just kind of trying to figure out life. It's called Closer to Nowhere. The next one is called Inside Out and Back Again. And as you can see, this one won some pretty big awards. It's actually a historical fiction novel in verse. It takes place at the time of the Vietnam War. The main character's name is Ha, and she's growing up in Vietnam, and then the war starts, and it's dangerous, and there's explosions, and it's scary, and so she and her family escape and head for the United States. They end up settling in Alabama, and there could not be a more different place than Vietnam than Alabama. And so it's a very big culture shock. She's not used to the food and the landscape and the people and the language. And so it's just kind of her struggle to find herself moving from Vietnam to Alabama. Our last book this month is called The Red Pencil by Andrea Davis Pinkney. And this one takes place in the Sudan. It is a country in the continent of Africa. And our young character, her name is Amira, and she lives with her family in the Sudan when they are attacked by kind of a band of rebels, and there's bloodshed and slaughter, and Amira is so overwhelmed by everything that's changed. Now, it's important to know that in her culture, girls don't get to go to school, so she can't read or write, and all she's ever wanted is to be able to kind of express herself creatively, and she's not given any opportunity to even learn. She's just expected to work and get married and have kids. And so after this kind of band of heathens, rebels, pirates-ish kind of take over their village, she ends up fleeing with her mother to a refugee camp. And while she's there, someone hands her a red pencil. And that's the first time in her life she's ever had something she could write with. And she has a lot she wants to say. This novel in verse is also kind of intermixed with really neat artwork that helps set the tone for what the book has going on in it. It's a really powerful look into refugee life and what it's like to have to run for your life from your home to never go back. That one's called The Red Pencil. I hope you're able to stop by the library this month and make some blackout poetry, check out a novel in verse, and see if you can fall in love with poetry. Either way, stop by and see us, check out a book, and remember, always be a reader.